This is the Hisense Touch Lite. Why is it a light? Why isn't it in color? These are questions we're here to find out today. Typically, Hisense will make a device and then a color variant of it. They've done this 3 times before, yet skipped it on the Hi Reader and the Touch. Instead, they made the Touch Museum and the bargain version of the Touch, which is this one in question. How is it different than the Touch, and why is it cheaper? What do you lose? What's missing? Well, for this we have to head over to the chalkboard and we'll figure this out together. The Touch is on the right and the Lite is on the left. They both are 5.84-inch phone-shaped screens at 276 ppi, so that much has not changed. However, you get half the amount of storage at only 64 GB versus 128. You still get a light sensor at the front, but no camera. They both come with Android 11 and a 3.5mm headphone jack, and the e-ink button is still alive and well. So that makes sense. You're getting less storage, so you pay less money. But something else is different. Hi-Fi. Yes, Hi-Fi. The entire reason you would buy this unit is actually missing from the Touch Lite. So why is that important? Well, the reason you were buying this, which is the Touch, is for the fact that it is a hi-fi music player, lossless audio, has some really nice encoder chips inside, and this doesn't have it. So what is it then? Because it's not a hi-fi music player, and they already have the Hisense Hi Reader, which is this but bigger. So where does this stand in their lineup? Well, it's like the Nook 4e. It's entry level. So that means they wipe away all the stuff you don't need, like the camera and the hi-fi chip. Well, that's great. But what can it still do? Is it a smartphone? No. You can use Wi-Fi and use WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger for calling, sure, but it isn't. You have all your apps in the middle here, and if you swipe over to the right, you have the remainder of your apps. Everything that has this kind of square, rounded outline will be the things that are stock. Anything that will have a different image is a side-loaded application. You can swipe over to the left and that'll be your home, and then you can go to the bottom here and go to readings. This is where your books will be, and then you can go to music. This is where all of your music will be. Apps is of course your app screen, which we showed you, and settings. I like what they've done with settings. They have kind of migrated or navigated away from the standard Android layout, which was just very text heavy, and they've gone to these very nice images, and these are done in-house. No other Android device looks like this. This is really cool, and you can see that they have the e-ink button as well. We have a video, if you check the video card up above, where we cover everything about the e-ink button. There is a lot here, but just to refresh you, you can select certain things like short press, double click, and long press if you want to go ahead and assign different things to those. So you can go ahead and go here and choose different things, turn the glow light off and on, night mode, etc. So there's a lot you can do here. There's also something in the display settings that all Hisense devices have. If you go down here to display, there's going to be a section, ink screen settings. There's a lot of things here. Bleaching app, front anti-aliasing, dynamic refresh mode. There's a ton of stuff here. Check the video card up above if you want to see that. We have a dedicated video on all of this. There's a lot to go over and it won't fit in this video, but basically it's just settings for the e-ink screen, not the display so to speak, but catered exactly for an e-ink screen. Again, not specific to this particular unit, but something you can do with these kind of smartphone-esque phone reader, e-reader things like the Hi Reader and the Xiaomi Ink Palm is that you can actually read it in one hand, because you can press the physical buttons on the side that will allow you to do different things. You can even assign page turns to the e-ink button furthermore, but for now you can use the volume buttons. You can still swipe and tap and do all your fun stuff, but it's really nice to have that tactile feel of being able to swap pages via the physical page turn keys essentially. So that's really nice, and obviously the reading experience is only going to be as good as the app you're using. We're using Aldico. It has a very good amount of customization with the background being live when you change text, margins, orientation, brightness, all that. So really it's going to come down to whether you're using the Amazon app, whether you're using Moon Plus Reader. Any app you want will work on this because it is running a very recent Android 11 operating system, which is the latest possible version of Android. on e-paper today from a manufacturer, so honestly, you're not going to have any issues with reading. And if it gets too stainy, you just turn it to clear mode and it just looks absolutely phenomenal. PDFs, it's one of those things. Can it read it? Yes, anything can read PDFs nowadays. Does it read it well? Yeah, it does, exceptionally well. Should you get this if you have to read PDFs? Not really. I mean, look how small that is. Now, the thing about Hisense phones is that they're very fast. They're some of the fastest e-paper products ever, period. There's really just collectively, they are so responsive under almost any mode. And as you can see here, we're only on smooth mode. We're not even on the fastest. If we go to speed mode, this thing is like replacing your daily cell phone usable kind of thing. Obviously, that's a stretch. We're not about to move over to e-paper and abandon our Samsung Galaxies. We're not there yet, but this is as close as any manufacturer has come. Look at that. It's so unobtrusive and really usable that yes, you can do it, but again, look at that. I can't read any of that. So if you're doing it for your bread and butter, like your education, your job, look somewhere else, because PDFs are not meant to be used on small screens. It's a pleasantry that they're allowing you to do this, but really, PDFs start at 10.3 because that's A5 piece of paper. A4 is 13.3 and above, basically, so you're really gonna want to stay away from this for PDFs, but I mean, you just can't refute how nice of an experience this is. Is the Hisense Touch Lite good for manga? It can read it. It does have good pixel density. It does have a small screen. There's a lot of pluses. You can pinch and zoom. It looks really good, but the screen is just too small. Although more and more people are using their cell phones, their daily cell phones, their daily runners, in order to read manga. They do it online, they do it on manga apps, they do it on web-based browsing, so it is there, but it is small. In fact, it isn't a phone, but if you put it up against a phone, it is still smaller than other phones. So it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, use case. Am I just casually reading a few mangas here and there? If I'm a hardcore manga reader, then you're not going to want this. It's just too small. If you're going to get into the details, you respect the individual respective artists, you're just going to be like, you're going to be held back because there's so much you have to do in order to read it properly. If you're a fair weather manga fan, then this is absolutely no problem. It looks great, it performs well, all the speed modes work and trickles down into the manga applications. It's definitely a thumbs up. Alright, to be honest, I wouldn't say there's a night and day difference in audio between this and the Touch, which has the Hi-Fi chip, and it wouldn't really be that evident unless you plug in a set of headphones, but obviously for you, the audience, you can't listen to us on headphones. So I will say that the speakers sound a little less rich by the ear, by the human ear, and it's more on the tinny side compared to the actual Touch. But again, you're splitting hairs here. You're not going to be shaking your head at this and wishing you had the other phone. That is, unless you're hooking this up to receivers and you're putting in very expensive headphones, then things definitely change. To be honest, this was a weird move by Hisense. With the A5, the A5 Pro, and the A7, they all had color variants. But these last three devices they've released, there's no color in sight. There's just variations of the same thing rehashed over and over again. They already have the Touch Museum. If you want to save a couple dollars, you could get this and it would be a success. But it's not cheap enough to justify all the things missing that made it so popular and capable in the first place. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.